Time keeps on leaving and we keep on moving. When do we pass on our wisdom to the youth? My veteran story, lost arts discussions, fireside chats with a bourbon or two. It's time to hear the story by our military veterans. Get yourself ready. It's the Lost Arts Podcast. The Lost Arts with Andrew Cox.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast that gives a voice to our veterans. On today's episode, we'll have a My Veteran Story with Navy veteran Dr. Tyler Reed. This is part 2 of Tyler Reed's story, so I'm looking forward to the rest of it. But before we get into that episode, are you enjoying the podcast? Well, consider becoming a TLA patron. That's the Lost Arts patron. It is through donations that we are able to continue recording podcasts and getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Just go to the Lost Art website and click on the Become a Patron link at the top. If becoming a TLA patron doesn't work for you and you would rather give a one-time donation, then go to the Lost Art website and scroll down until you see the donations link. Any donation is appreciated. And if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, well, shoot me an email at thelostartwithandrewcox@gmail.com, and we will try to get you scheduled on to come on and tell your veteran story. And as always, we do have hats, we have shirts, we have all kinds of merchandise for sale, and you are more than welcome to go to the website, click on that merchandise tab. Help us spread the word about our mission here and spreading our veteran voices for everyone to hear. All right, with that, we have back with us Dr. Tyler Reed. Tyler, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. How are you?
Oh, man, I can't complain. I got you on here. I'm excited to get to hear the rest of your story.
Oh, yeah.
So we left off, you were getting ready. You were just heading out of the Navy, and then kind of walk us through where you went, what you did at that point, and kind of talk us what you got going on now.
Yeah, so 2020 is when I got out of the Navy, and then ended up in Virginia, and then I didn't know what to do with my life. So at this point, I was medically retired from the Navy. Then, losing my ability to do my job and play the trumpet, they saw that as a big deal, which was, I think, unexpected.
I would say definitely it's a big deal.
Yeah, but it's up to a whole bunch of other people to determine that.
Right.
And all the paperwork and everything. So that was rough too. Finally getting my papers, and then having to get out because I couldn't do my job anymore. And in the middle of COVID, so a lot of the programs that were available to me for finding a new career path or maybe going back to school, which I really didn't want to do.
I can understand that.
Yeah, they're kind of put on hold. Like they're still available at that time, but it was really difficult because everyone kept asking me, like, so what do you want to do? I go, I don't know. Do you want to stay in music? Do you want to find a new career path? Like, what are your interests? And I was like, well, my interests were the trumpet and music. I mean, that was, it's your hobby. And,
right.
You just do, and I don't think a lot of non-musicians get that. That it's always a part of your life. Even when you go home, you're like, oh, I just want to like pick up my horn and play, make you feel better, or listen to, jam out with your friends or something. I couldn't do any of that. So, I mean, how far in the weeds should I go?
Hey, this is totally up to you. You can go as far as you feel comfortable talking about. So I don't want to push you into something that you don't feel uncomfortable talking about, but totally up to you.
Well, that's all good. So I think the hardest thing was because I was continuing the VA, actually, which when I was getting out, was getting a lot of bad like rap in the news and everything. But they're great with me. I there's a service where this therapist is like called me out of the blue and it was like, "Hey, is this Tyler Reed?" I'm like, "Yes, who are you?" And they're like, "Well, I'm your therapist with the VA. I'm just making sure you're okay." And then I went and told my whole story, and they're like, "Do you want to continue?" Like, and I think it was like once a month. This person will call me and just check in and see how I was doing. And that was great. Just someone never met me that, is whether with the VA or another, agency part of the VA was calling to check in on like my mental health and emotional like stability and all that. So that was really nice. Um,
That's a big deal,
yeah,
especially you're kind of cut off from what you knew and what you wanted to do, and then to have somebody reach out to you in the VA doing that, that's a fantastic thing.
yeah, and this it was just like a kind of a check-in, like is this all they're like it's confidential, but if you just want to talk, I'm here, and then they gave me the option of like here's my office number or whatever, like if you need something between now this session and like a month from now, or maybe it's like 2 weeks, every 2 weeks or something. Um, just email me or call me, and so that was great because I was in a new place, a new area, and it's COVID. So like, you can't, everything was just shut down. And that's when it was really tough because, my family was worried about me and my friends worried about me. Like, what are you gonna do? And I had no idea. Like, so I just went down the rabbit hole. Like, even uh like one of my therapists was like, you need to find a new hobby. And I went on Google and I was like, how do you find a new hobby? Like, like
I can see that. Yeah.
what do normal people do? Because there's this like music and then that like, this, rolled out so many different things to do or, um, like, hey, I'm gonna record myself or something and at that point, I closed the book on music. I was like, I'm done. Like I made it as far as the universe wanted me to make it, and I'm done with music. I want to do something new. And then that
Right.
was that was a tough decision to close the book because, it's like I still want to play or, everyone's like, why don't you just learn a new instrument? I was like, well, I spent my whole life learning one instrument. Like, I don't want to pick up a new one. Uh, and majority of them, I can't use my tongue anyway. So, it wasn't appealing. I closed the
Right.
book. Um, and I watched this show. It's a BBC show. It's called The Repair Shop. Have you ever seen it?
Mm.
So it's like all these professional like artisans that work like they film it on like a living museum and all these people bring in their family heirlooms and they restore them or fix them for free.
Yeah, I know
Um,
what you're talking about now.
yeah. And there's a guy on that show who worked on clocks and like went into like, but they always kept going back to him like, hey, I have this old wind up toy. Can you fix it? And they would bring it to the clock guy, the horologist. Um, they would bring it to him and it piqued my interest. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I could fix clocks. So I went on eBay and found like this old 1920s alarm clock and took it apart, on Amazon, bought because it's COVID, everyone used Amazon. Um, Bought some like basic, you know, clock tools and I got it working. And ever since then, I have too many clocks that I need to fix now. Um, and it calmed my mind and gave me something to focus on that wasn't a TV or movie or video games or, anything like that. So now I continually fix alarm clocks and then like my friends will give me their clocks to fix or I'll go over to people's houses and Be like, hey, you have a grandfather clock. They're like, oh, it hasn't worked in years. And then like within 10 minutes, I can get it, working.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so it's turned into a cool hobby, and I really enjoy it. And is is weird. That's the hobby side, like
Right. Yeah.
finding a
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
hobby. But I was just watching TV and going, hey, maybe I can do that. And I definitely broke some clocks, a lot of them. But you gotta learn. And so I learned to do it, and I do it. I just give them away. I give them to family members or friends.
Yeah.
Like here's a 1920s alarm clock that works. It's been
That's
through
really cool.
been through more crap than we have.
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of like got my motivation. I think that's the whole like, hey, I can be good at something else than
Right.
music, or I had other hobbies, but that was the one that gave me like gratification or satisfaction of completing something, getting something that was broken working.
Right.
And then from there, I applied to about like 75 federal jobs through
Wow.
USA Jobs. I mean, it was like from being a secretary to being the like liaison for between the Marine Corps and the family when someone passes away, like active duty
Mhm.
member.
Right.
Um, and I kept getting back, oh, you've passed our um, the initial hiring process, and then your application has been forwarded to the hiring committee. You may be contacted for an interview. And that happened 75 times, or
Wow.
maybe 60 out of 75 times. Like it happened more times. Like I would get through the initial process, but I never got an interview. And that drove me crazy. And that was from like 2020 to like 21, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or 20, even 22. Yeah,
Yeah.
22.
Probably 22. Yeah.
Yeah, so 20 to 22. Um, just trying to find, and then I was like, oh, I like computers. Maybe I want to do computer science, and so I started going into that. And I was like, no, I don't like that. Like, like screw that. So it was really tough to find and I would like talk to friends and their spouses and be like, what do you do for work? I was like that weird guy that would just be like, what do you do for work? Do you enjoy it? Like, tell me every detail about it. Because I was trying to find something else that would interest me in a career. I applied to um, like the FBI, um,
Hmm.
and at that time, so that was 22. So between there, it was like figuring out my life, kind of struggling, um, you know, hang out with my pup who's staring at me right now.
I see you looking over at
Yeah.
him.
Don't go away. Um, hello. Um, so in 22, yeah, it's 22, right? Yeah. Um, like through friends of friends, the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation, which is their office is in the National Museum of the Marine Corps. Um, they do internships or like part-time jobs, and they had a position for to transcribe oral histories at the archives. And so I applied to that for a part-time job. I applied to that in like January of 22, and I totally forgot about it. And then I get this random phone call in June of 22 being like, hey,
Wow.
yeah, it took for a part-time job. Not even like the federal jobs. I mean, they could take like a month or 2 months, but the turnaround was quicker. But for a part-time job, it was from January to June. And they're like, hey, you want an interview? I'm like, yes, absolutely. I don't even know what I applied for. Like, what is this? Like, I had no idea. I totally forgot about it. And so I set up the interview, and it was the director of the archives with the history division, uh, the Marine Corps history division, and the archives branch, and then the Heritage Foundation director. And so what the job entailed was taking historical oral histories back in Vietnam till present, and transcribing them because they need to be transcribed. And the the funniest part to me in that interview was like, do you have any experience with like uh, recording software like Audacity? And I think in the interview, I actually laughed because I was like, yeah, like who doesn't? And you gotta think like almost every musician has used Audacity or some recording software. And I was sitting there like, this is like I'm gonna say this is the dumbest question of this interview. Like, because I laughed, I was like, yeah, of course I do. Um, and I think that's what got me the job because I was proficient in all the software and recording software. And then so in June, I started at the Marine Corps History Division Archives branch on Quantico as part of the Marine Corps University, or like the building is at the Marine Corps University. And then they gave me reel-to-reel tapes from Vietnam, like magnetic tapes, and they have a player, and they're like, just start transcribing. Doesn't matter where you start. And so they have 16,000 reel-to-reel tapes from Vietnam.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's like start wherever. And some of them have been digitized, or and some have not. And what the amazing thing was is that my dad did ROTC when he was in college, and the officer in charge of ROTC was a Marine, and they became good friends later on. And became, I think, a 3-star general in the Marine Corps, and yeah, I think so. And I actually found an oral history because he was in Vietnam. I found an oral history of him. I was like, oh, there's no way that, Hank Stackpole is in here. And he has actually several recordings. And one of the first ones was the first time like in country in Vietnam after a firefight. And it was a debrief.
Wow.
And so I got to listen. I unfortunately never got to meet him, but he was a dear friend of my parents. So like the family connection through that like gave me motivation to like, this is a cool, part-time job. So from there I just started transcribing these oral histories. A lot of them, like you can hear the crickets or gunfire or helicopters flying over. And like this, you get kind of emotionally attached to these. I mean, a lot of them are debriefs, but you get involved in the stories, and then you want to know more about what happened. So I did that for 4 months, and then the staff there is amazing. And they go, and within those 4 months, they go, hey, do you have any interest of being an archivist? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Sure. Is that a thing? So they taught me, there pretty much everything to be an archivist, like all the basics, and then getting in the nitty-gritty of it. And there's a position that opened up for archive specialist. And they said, hey, you should apply to it as a GS9 position.
So real quick, what specifically is an would you say archivist?
Yeah, it's like preserving and maintaining like historical like photographs and documents, materials, like textual materials. Um, writing all the description for them, make sure that they're preserved and appropriately cataloged and maintained pretty much forever.
Yeah.
And so that's like the gist of it. And so they're like, hey, you should apply to this position. And being a veteran, you get the veterans preference because it wasn't open to the public. So that got me my foot in the door for this. And they're like, you have to get through the initial hiring stage to get at least an interview, and I did. Um, and then they interviewed me and like two other people, and then they hired me.
Very nice.
And I've been there since October of 22. And so now, like the history division, the Marine Corps history division, we maintain all the, documents and photographs, oral histories, even audio and video, for the entire Marine Corps. And so we actively, all the command chronologies come to us, every year or every quarter, depends. And, so I'm, a vital part, and there's only like 8 of us, running the entire archives. It's like 9 million documents,
For the
30,000,
entire Marine Corps.
the entire Marine Corps. Yeah. So it's like
Wow.
6,000 process collections that we have. It's like 9 million documents, and like 30,000 oral histories. And so we maintain all of that, and we're open to the public, as well. So like we have researchers, people writing books, like Marine Corps headquarters contacts us for information, like historical information.
Right.
Yeah, so we have like the original maps that were used at the invasion of Iwo Jima. We have the Bellawood maps, like original maps. Um, Photographs. Like recently, I just like scanned a scrapbook from like the 1930s and from a Marine in China, and
Wow.
like all of his photographs. So we maintain all that, and we work with the museum, and museum works with us. So it's everything Marine Corps is housed at the like documents and textual materials are housed at the archives for the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Man, that's an incredible thing. And I think the Marine Corps has it right when it comes to preserving those types of things and making sure that the history, the legacy, all those things are preserved. So they've been doing a fantastic. Now I can't speak on behalf of the other services. I don't know, but the
Who
Marine Corps, I
cares?
can speak. They do a fantastic job, and you're part of that.
Yeah, and in doing so, because like when we actively get donations, like, oh, I found this is my grandfather's, I found it in the attic, are you interested in if I donate? Because we can't actively go out and collect things. It's all donations or transfers. And so every month we're assigned a donation, and you never know what you're going to get. Like I've gotten a journal from a Marine in like World War II, and he did a daily account, like what he ate that day. And then through his entire time, you see his language change. Like it started off like kind of peppy and, just, day to day, I'm here, and to kind of getting dark,
wow.
because of just things that happened. So we get to, actually physically hold them and read them, and then do the research on the Marine and whatever was donated to us. And it's, we're backlogged. So we're constantly getting more donations. Um, and yeah, it's just every day is a little bit different, and it's kind of awesome.
So kind of walk us through, I guess, if let's say I'm somebody that has a document or something from a veteran that has served, specifically Marine Corps at
Yep.
this point. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, specifically Marine Corps. I want to be able to send this to you guys so you can document it and you can keep it and archive it. What is the process for that?
So it's literally just contacting the archives branch. We're part of the Marine Corps University website. There's a whole history division page. It's not really up to date, but there's an email on there. It's history.division@usmcu.edu. And if you just email that to us, like say, hey, I have all these documents, or a hard drive full of photographs, we're interested. And then there's some paperwork. You send it to us. We go through it in those monthly committees I was just talking about, and then we all vote like whether it would be a great addition to the archives. And I would say about almost everything that comes through our doors, like we usually accept it. And it's about telling, and a lot of times it's kind of funny because when you asked me to do this interview, I was like, why do you want to hear about my story? And it's funny because we turn around and we literally tell veterans and even active duty Marines, like, what everything that you're collecting is tells a vital part to the entire Marine Corps story. Um, like we don't, we're not just collecting like the, major names or significant like conflicts or events. Is like we want little Lance Corporal all the way up, the general, like, because it all bridges the story. Because
Yeah.
you're gonna take an officer and you're gonna take an event and they're gonna have this documentation or a journal, and then you take a sergeant that was at the same thing, and their story and their documents are probably going to be different, but it helps. Yeah. But it helps tell the story and of everything that happened and the different viewpoints. And that's like one of our primary objectives is to, maintain and preserve all of the history for the Marine Corps. And we meet a lot of, like Marines that are just like, like, you don't want my stuff. And we're like, like we are interested, we can't tell you, to give it to us, but, we'll definitely take a look at it. And it doesn't have to be from, World War I or World War II or Vietnam or Korea. It's like even like OIF and OEF, like we have a huge gap. Like we have like almost no there. So part of the history branch is also like we have historians that write the official history of the Marine Corps. Like no bias, is using all the facts, and we're missing so much material from like the OIF and OEF that it's almost we can't complete it, or they can't complete it, because a lot of things, I guess, were on hard drives and they're just wiped, or people just took them home and then they're holding on to them. And so there's a big gap from our side that like we don't have the resources to tell that story. We only have bits and pieces.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
So just so all the listeners, if you were served during OIF or OEF, OIF, and you got a story, you got some documents or anything like that, reach out. Tyler Reed, I'll make sure I put your contact info on there as well whenever we post this. But reach out, because you guys obviously need that, and you're missing that part of the story. And I'm telling you, there's plenty of individuals that I specifically know that could probably give you all kinds of information about different things. And if you're out there and I served with you and we deployed together or whatever the case may be, hey, we need to get in touch with Tyler over here and make sure that they get that information so they have a true story and a more accurate story to be able to tell.
Absolutely. And it's just amazing, because we have the researchers and people writing books and everything, or just but the most beneficial thing, I think, the side of music to like help people or just like provide music to an audience. The big thing that we do is we help family members, like, hey, I don't know anything on, my grandfather. Do you have anything? And sometimes, we type in the name and it's a part of another collection that someone donated that talks about, their grandfather, and we can give an insight, being like, we actually do have some documentation. Sometimes we don't, we don't have every individual and every photograph, but
you do have a lot of the muster rolls and stuff like that, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I know that my wife she did some research on when we were at First Marine Division Band. She did a lot of research and looking at a bunch of different things, but she was able to track all kinds of people just by specifically the muster rolls.
Yeah.
And it really tells where everybody was, what they were doing, what their job was, those types of things. And you don't even think about it really,
Yeah.
because we're talking muster rolls, like daily
I know.
interactions, like where's this person at? What are they doing? And, and it could be as simple as that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, we use that, when we're getting a new donation, like we'll one of the archivists will go through and will most likely go to the muster rolls and be like, "Hey, where were they? I want to see their career." And also, we do it to verify that it's the same individual as well,
Yeah.
because those are official records. But yeah, and you know, speaking coming back to music, when I was started there, I went through our like collections, and I was like, hey, I wonder what they have on the Marine Fleet bands, and like little to like nothing. There's like we do have it's spread out, but that's why I try to reach out to the bands, and hopefully in the future we can transfer some of the historical materials from the fleet band so that all of your history is preserved as well.
I
Um,
I'll be from my experience personally, and now I'm not out in the fleet, and I don't have the means to be able to get the stuff. But I'm telling you right now, there's plenty of material.
oh
There's
yeah,
stuff from when I was a daggum sergeant, back in the day. Videos and all kinds of stuff that's out there. Like I can just think back to First Marine Division because that's I was there recently,
yeah,
but went through their library and they have video VHS tapes. They have like I think they have some reels and stuff like that. I mean, the stuff is out there and it
yeah,
definitely needs to be preserved. And I think your avenue and stuff is the best way to do that.
yeah. It's kind of like turn is like a you know whatever the universe or just right place, right time, and then like my own personal interests kind of like sparked this. And it's amazing because at the archives branch we have uh you name the video like what format, and we have a player for it, and we digitize it in house.
Oh wow.
So we don't have to send it off. We do everything in house. So you talk, even film, reel to reels, VHS, Betamax, U-matic, DVC Pro. Like we have it
Literally
all.
everything.
Yeah. So and I primarily do that as well. That's part of, I'm kind of like the in-house technical geek, I guess.
I like it. So,
Yeah.
and I know that the Marine Corps Musicians Association has reached out to you
Yeah.
and talked to you on several occasions. I know they're doing some changeover and different things like that as well. But I know that they have a ridiculous amount of information and stuff on bands specifically, which is
Absolutely.
fantastic. But you need it for everything, right?
We,
Artillery, infantry, like doesn't matter
yeah.
the OS or anything. You want everything.
Everything. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And we have gaps. And then, you know, maybe a few months later we'll be looking for something and there's a gap, and then a few months later the donation will come in, and it'll be one little puzzle piece to, of that donation, whether it's, personal correspondence or letters, or I mean, you name it. So we pretty much take everything. Probably shouldn't say that, but
So, okay, I got a question for you. So let's say that I'm Joe Blow, whoever, and you're saying you want to hear everyone's story. Um, what is the best way for me to be able to get my story and the things that I did into your hands so you can actually archive that stuff?
I mean, it's just literally reaching out to the archives branch and saying, "Hey, I have all these documents and photographs, and the more details you can give us of, what unit you're in, or what if you're in conflict, even if you weren't in a conflict, it doesn't have to be. It's, hey, I did this, and I have all these documents and photographs. Are you interested?" And it's literally just contacting us, and then most of the time we're like, yeah, absolutely, we'll want to look at it, to say the least. Not saying that it's going to be 100% that we'll accept it, but we'll definitely dive into it. And if it's a good addition to the Marine Corps Archives and History Division and the Marine Corps itself, we'll definitely do it. We'll definitely take it.
So what about like the oral history part? Because you talked about the oral history and
Yeah.
and have people tell their story, kind of like what we're doing now. But
So yeah, so
what
that was,
what for that?
I think that's changed over time. Like, and I think I would say it started in Vietnam. They're really good about all the debriefs and interviews, like right after something happened or after they rotated back to stateside, they would interview, um, pretty much everybody. And that's why we have like 16,000 oral histories. And there's multiple people on those reels. It'll be like, 15 people on one reel to reel. But like and then I think during OEF and NOIF, they went out and interviewed, uh, it's part of the history division. Like we have a reserve unit, the IMADET. Well, they'll go out and they'll conduct oral histories. And right now we do have an oral historian. It's this one person. So she's been going out and, I think she's primarily doing, uh, officers when they change of command or retirement and things like that. But for any oral history, like we had donation recently where like this interview, or you can sit down with anybody and then conduct an interview. And then you can say, hey, I did this interview of like my dad or my grandfather. Would you be interested in it? And absolutely. I mean, if it tells a story, absolutely. If it's a piece of, you know, Marine Corps history, absolutely. So I think today it's definitely different. It wasn't. I think back then it was they're more adamant about it, and we're trying to get back into it, for the oral histories and interviewing everyone we can. But it's one person.
Yeah.
Versus, in the whole Marine Corps is like, okay, well, who do I interview?
Well, I would say with today's technology,
Yeah,
I mean, here we are, right? You're in Quantico area. I'm down in Virginia Beach right now, and we're able to do a live chat, and you could, I'm listening to you tell your story, those types of things.
yeah,
I would imagine that if an individual sat down and literally set up their phone, hit record, and just told their story of, hey, from start to finish, this is what I did in the Marine Corps,
yeah,
and then they could submit that to you guys. And although you may or may not use it, but that is part of the Marine Corps history.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that's a great thing that we can, hopefully I can help, and my listeners and stuff will help in doing this as well. But I think that's a great, fantastic thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's outdated, but even on the history division website, it's kind of like a how to like conduct your own oral history. And we're getting a lot more of, hey, I interviewed my grandfather, and here's some materials that we found that he kept. Are you interested? And so it yeah, you can definitely just do it yourself and submit it. And I think it's way easier today, especially with technology as well. So it's um, yeah, but I mean, we also get requests for, hey, we're going to be in the area. Can you interview like my dad? And it's like, well, we can't do that, or like we don't have. It's not that we can't do it. We don't have the
You don't have the
manpower,
time or the personnel to
yeah, to do that.
like that. Yeah.
And that's why we were like, you can do it yourself, and then submit it to us.
Yeah.
And it can. And the thing is with the archives is we're preparing it, to be preserved forever. So everything, all those like 9 million documents, we're in the process of starting to digitize them. So not only are we physically preserving them and making sure that they're gonna last well beyond their shelf life, We're digitizing them so that they're preserved digitally and that we can share it with the public. So we're working on that right now. So
Yeah, I may be jumping ahead on myself here, but I would say that if there are Marines out there that have, they want to tell their story, I'll be more than happy to sit here and interview and walk through just like we did with you. And then if you guys want it, by all means, you guys can take the material and it's online. You can copy paste whatever. I don't know if
yeah,
I don't know the legal terms for all of that stuff, but I don't care. You guys can definitely take anything that I have and throw it up there. But because it's out there for everybody to see already, and the person has agreed to that. So
yeah,
I would imagine that it'd be fairly easy for you guys to take and be able to utilize.
yeah, and it's definitely different now because we're getting more digital content now, and prior it was all physical documents and photographs, and here's my VHS, and now it's since we're getting more digital, we have to accommodate that, because that's what it is now and kind of has been.
There's a guy that I interview. His is going to be on next week, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. Yours is Thursday, Friday, I think. But I interview him, Mr. Paul Durso. Have you ever talked to him by chance?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Paul Durso is a very, very interesting individual, and his story is amazing.
Wow.
Amazing story. He was a musician, started out infantry, went to the band, judo champion. I'm telling you, like did stuff with Chuck Norris, did stuff with an amazing individual, and has a fantastic story. So if all else about, listen next week,
Yeah,
Monday, Tuesday to his story, because it is a very interesting story. He's been in books where they've talked about different things or whatever. But
that's awesome.
and when he was because he was in the band in Okinawa, and he did like this, I don't know, some trio thing or whatever that they did out in town, and they sang in Japanese and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, kind of became a hit, like
Yeah,
when you're talking about the TV and the radio and stuff like that back just during Vietnam era.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, that's a perfect thing for you guys to be able to capitalize on, I think. And I'm just amazed that he was able to come on here and tell a story. It was a great story, but
No, yeah, definitely. I'll definitely tune in too.
yeah,
Um,
and there's plenty of stories out there, man. I'm telling you,
oh,
we
I
got
know.
there's a lot of podcasts that we've done, and we're going to continue to do this. So, like I said, man, if you guys are interested and you want it, by all means, take it, do whatever you want with it, archive it, put it wherever, tell the story that because that's what we're doing. Now, granted, I am interviewing obviously the Navy because I got you here. We're interviewing all the branches of service and all that stuff. I don't have any Space Force guys yet, so I don't know what's up with that. But eventually I'll have a spaceman on here to be able to talk.
I definitely want to hear that one.
It'll be a good one for sure.
Yeah. And the thing we come across a lot is that no one really knows that we exist. Like, the Marine Corps University, like, we have commander's course, and then, they're like, what is this? You guys do what here? We're like, yeah, we preserve everything Marine Corps related, and it's also not just if it, I'll like joint services. So, it's like, oh yeah, you're introducing Big Daddy Navy right here. But it's still it's still a joint, service effort, so it falls under, the Marine Corps as well.
Yeah, and
So
more nowadays, it's even more
yeah,
so. I mean, the joint forces of what we do and how we operate in the military is completely different than what we used to be. We're so more integrated now than we used to be, even though it seems like we're not. You're in the
yeah,
individual services and stuff like that, but there is so much more. So I can totally see that.
yeah. So I mean, and we're trying to get better of, like, trying to spread the word that, like, hey, we exist. And we're here for the Marine Corps and the public as well, because even though we're on base, we're completely open to the public, which is kind of unique in its own way because I think um, there's other places that aren't as like open as we are, let's say. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I will do my part in spreading the word.
yeah,
I don't know how many listeners that I actually have or whatever, but as we progress throughout this podcast and stuff, I need to figure out a way to get a link directly for you guys so people can
yeah,
reach out and help with that historical aspect of what we have going on in the military. Well, in the Marine Corps specifically, but
yeah,
the military in general.
yeah. I'm not, here just like to promote what my, my job, but but it's kind of weird how I fell into it. You know, it was kind of
Yeah.
like right place, right time, and then it's kind of just uh like this spread and putting a spotlight on the bands too. Because
Yeah.
no one really at the archives, they're like, "Oh, you mean the President's Own?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I'm talking about the
The other yahoos out in the fleet.
yeah." Like, there's other bands. I'm like, "Yes." So, um, but it's also funny because anything music related, like, it just gets straight forwarded to me, like emails or phone calls. It's like, like we don't know. Talk to Tyler.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes
Um,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, so it's good. And you know, it's filled that gap that I never, or that void that I thought would never be filled again, which is weird to say. Because if you told me, even like 2.5 years ago that I'd be doing this, yeah, I would have been like, "You're nuts." Well, there's no way. Um, but it's great place to work, good people, and I get to, you know, work for the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
You turned me.
Well, I've got to tell you, man, just from me to you, I am impressed with where you've gone, what you've done, all the trials and the tribulations that you've been through, how you overcame those things, seeking help, and even though it might have been forced at the beginning, but being able to walk through that and those types of things, that's a fantastic example for all the other veterans out there to be able to see and to know that there is something on the other side that can turn out and to be a great thing. So you're a fantastic example of that. And I've always enjoyed our conversations. I've always enjoyed, just getting together, chatting, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're doing a fantastic thing and a fantastic job. So I'm very proud of what you've been doing. It's awesome to see.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. And I think, I mean, you definitely helped with all that. And I think that's a bigger, like, another big thing to talk about is, yeah, I went and, got help. But also when I got out of the Navy, reaching back out to, the people that were still in that I served with and said, like, can you help me with this? Or can I have do you mind writing me a recommendation for a job? Or just having someone to talk to. I think everyone kind of, stopped what they're doing and gave me, the time of day. And that was really eye opening because when I got out of the Navy, it's kind of like, he's out. We don't care about him anymore. And it kind of feels that way because you're not working with those people every day. You're not seeing them. You're not getting 1,000 text messages of where are you or change of plans or, you know, um, why are you late to PT, all those things. um, it's you kind of feel isolated, but I think the big thing is that they're still there for you. But it just takes that extra little text message or phone call to go, hey, can you help me with this? Or can we talk? Or, they're still there for you. And I think that's been the help get me through a lot of stuff too, is reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, for me personally, to everybody out there, I would tell you, uh, one of the things that I always try to do is like birthdays, right? Birthdays is it is what it is. A lot of people get on the face pages or whatever. I don't know, whatever thing that you use, but I utilize Facebook, and if I'm friends with you, I don't even put it on your wall. I send you a personal invitation or a personal message just to say happy birthday. And 9 times out of 10, that sparks a conversation.
Yeah.
And it, not only for the individual that I'm sending it to, but for me, that gives me a connection. And I guess with saying that is, it's kind of on you too to reach out. Don't be the one to sit by yourself and not reach out to somebody. I mean, Tyler, you reached out to me several times. We've talked on many occasions, and I love chatting with you and all that good stuff. But it took sometimes you to reach out to me, and you took that
Yeah.
first step. And that was just a fantastic thing. But hopefully, the veterans out there can kind of take heed of what you did and be able to execute that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to do it because you don't, it's like an isolation kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm out. They don't really care about me anymore. Or like no one's contacted me to check on me, because you're not part of, the muster anymore. But they do care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's kind of that out of sight, out of mind type of thing sometimes. And
yeah.
we all do it, it is what it is. But when somebody is no longer right there in front of you, it makes it more difficult to reach back out. And some people are better at it than others. I'm not the best at it. I try to do the birthday thing every time, because at least once a year I'll be able to hit everybody I know. But it doesn't always work out that way, but it is a difficult thing, and it's hard for me. I'll be honest, like, I'm newly retired, I got it. But sometimes it's hard for me to reach out and talk to people, especially on a personal level, of things that I got going on, and my woes and my troubles and things like
Mhm.
that. Sometimes that's difficult, and I can completely relate with that. And I'm sure everybody else out there can too. So I just encourage everybody to reach out. That's the first step, man. Reach out and ask. It's not
Yeah.
that they don't care about you. It's just that, they have other things on their mind, and they're trying to do a million different things at one time. And it just gets lost in the sauce sometimes. And sometimes it takes you to reach out. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, hey, yeah. And then I can dive down in onto whatever it is. So,
Definitely. 100%.
yeah. So, oh, excuse me, Tyler, what is something that you would want to leave all the listeners with, as we start wrapping this up? But what is something that you would want to say to everybody out there? And I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and because we didn't prepare for this question, but what is something that you would tell everyone out there to be able to help them out through the life lessons that you have learned over your career and over your time on this earth?
Hmm. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here for you.
I think the biggest thing, because I mean, besides, you know, uh, losing my music, playing the trumpet, I mean, more about other stuff that's like on my life, and just being in the gutter, um, getting out of the Navy, uh, you know, I think is don't worry about the future, because it's always going to change. Like, I had a plan. I was going to be a, Navy for life, retire whatever rank, 20 plus years. And then after 4 years, I get, things, life happens. So I think, don't focus too much on the future, and focus on the now. And when shit gets bad, just keep your head above the water, lean on your friends, family, and just keep going. Don't give up, because I almost gave up several times. And, keep to keep going is the hardest thing. And then, I found a great job, and love it. And, I'm back on track of just being happy. So, and fulfilled. So I think that's my words of wisdom, if that made any sense.
No, it makes sense to me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% right, man. And I gotta say, and I end the program every time, and I talk about veteran suicide. I talk about those types of things, and that's a tough topic to talk about,
Mhm.
uh, but it is important because a lot of times we get stuck in that, woe is me, and it's all collapsing on me, and I don't know what to do type of thing. But I've got to tell you, there is somebody out there willing to sit and talk and discuss and help you through whatever it is. You just got to take the time to find that individual. And I get it, it's difficult, but once you find the individual and the people that are going to help you through things, man, it just turns around, and it's a fantastic deal. So
Yeah. There's always someone. Yeah.
absolutely
So
awesome. Well, hey, Tyler, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I should say, Dr. Reed, thank you for coming
no.
on. I appreciate it. You are the man, and I have always enjoyed my time with you. Yeah, I know it may sound crazy, but I honestly, truly have enjoyed my time with you. And I thank you for coming on and being brutally honest and telling people all the things that the trials and tribulations that you had throughout your career, because I think it's going to help people out there. So thanks for coming on. If there's anything I can do for you in the future, please reach out. We're definitely have you come back on at some point in time, maybe to talk about Marine Corps Museum or Marine Corps University specifically. Do a fireside chat or something. Maybe have some of your compadres that work with you come on. Would be really cool in the future. But anyways, I do appreciate it. Thank you. Last parting words before we wrap this up.
No.
Nothing.
Nothing. I think
nothing wrong with that.
I think you got everything out of me.
I wore you out, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, to all the listeners out there, remember that if you're struggling, you're having a hard time, you're wanting to hurt yourself, wanting to hurt somebody else, something like that, you can always reach out to the VA. They have the number 988, press option 1. They'll be able to get you in contact with somebody to be able to help you out. If you don't feel comfortable utilizing the phone and calling, you want to text, you can text 838-255. Again, that's 838-255. And you'll be able to, same type of thing, be able to contact somebody. And if you're one of those really young guys that, would rather chat online because that's more your speed, you can go to the veteranscrisisline.net and then be able to click on the chat icon, and you'll be able to get on there. All of that is anonymous. You only have to talk about what you feel like talking about. And I promise you, they're going to be able to point you in the right direction and get you the help that you need. And one veteran's life lost is one too many. I care about you. I know Tyler, Dr. Reed cares about you. All the people out there, they all care about you. And we want what's best for you. So please reach out and get the help that you need. But again, Tyler, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. To all the listeners out there, stay motivated, change your socks.